An innovator. He was a mentor to many. He was a great friend. He was a leader both in business and in life. He was a loving husband, open-minded, believed in tradition. We celebrated Christmas better than any Catholics ever did. He was always non-judgmental. He was a hard worker, a helpful sounding board. I talked to him all the time about things. He was a respected business person and a risk taker. So I'm going to tell just a quick few stories that tie into that a little bit. The first thing actually happened 7 months ago, the last time that I saw him. We came to Judith's place by the lake to see him. And I asked him, why'd you start skiing in 1958? Why would you ski? You're from New Jersey. What makes people ski? Well, he says, I'll tell you why. The Markins, who are not here, well, one's still here, one's not. But anyway, they were best friends. They went to the travel agent and said, we want to go to Mexico for a vacation. She laughed and said, you can't afford to go to Mexico. Not a chance. But I just came back from Grey Rocks in Canada, and it's all inclusive. Everything's paid for. Food, everything, skiing. He went there and skied, and the rest is history. So it's always interesting how he started to ski. The second thing I talked about starting snow country. A lot of people talked about him working for Rochester Stationery, working for his father-in-law. And then he says to himself, I hate this. One day on his way home, he goes to Alan Underberg, who was his lawyer that time, and says, I want to buy a business. What do you got for me? He says, there's this place called Country Gentleman in this beautiful A-frame right on Monroe Avenue. It's affordable. How do you have the guts in 1968 to give up a life where money was coming in guaranteed and starting the ski business where it has to snow or it doesn't work? And that was something that just made me feel really good about how he did it and why he did that and what things changed. When I thought about snow country, and there's some great snow country people there, and I appreciate you guys all coming. Snow country was a leader in the business, I think, as somebody said before, with things that they did. A couple of things that come to mind. Talk about a risk taker. I'll never forget, in the early 70s, he was the first person that says, you know what, I'm going to open on Sundays. If you remember back then, there was a thing called blue laws. It was against the law to be open on Sundays in this area. So he goes to his lawyer and says, I'm going to open on Sunday. The lawyer says, and it was Alan Underberg again, he says, you know what? No matter what happens, they can't shut you down. They can come and give you a ticket, but they cannot shut you down. He opened, and what happened? We all now work on Sundays. You talked about the buying group. Someone mentioned the buying group. I mean, he was really the first person in the United States to get together with a bunch of other people and start a buying group to compete against the Hermans of the world and the big people. They would argue for 6 hours about the color of a ski pole and what the grip should look like. And they would argue about what it looked like. Meanwhile, the SMC, Ski Merchandise Corporation, or I guess Snow Merchandise Corporation now, is the largest sporting goods buying group in the country right now. He helped put that together and started from square one. That was so far ahead of his time, it was unbelievable. The summer ski sale, remember that? 99-cent skis. People sleeping out in front of the snow country on Monroe Avenue. People didn't do that. He was the first one to do it. Then it grew into the dome sale. 3 days of craziness, but fantastic experience for the customers and for ourselves and everybody else. And that turned into the dome ski sale, which got bigger and bigger. And then lastly, our junior lease program. 5,000 pairs of ski boots a year for $25 a pair. Those of us that work there finding a place to put all those ski boots. Where do you put them? They all come back in the spring and the summer. But we got people, young kids skiing. Snapper and I talked about the other day on the phone about that. He helped do that. Customer service. Dick was an expert in customer service. He lived it his whole life. And it helped me when I left Rochester and went out west. Customer service really helped me be successful in Aspen with everything I was doing. Customer's always right, but only to a point. So I tell a quick story. We were in the bicycle business in the old snow country there on Monroe Avenue, down from it was the old House of Carpets. We were in the bike business, and all bike sales were final because they got ridden, the tires were worn down, etc. So what happens? Some guy complains and yells and screams, I want to return the bike. Dick finally says, you know what? Bring the bike back tomorrow. I'll have a check ready for you to go. Guy shows up with the bike. Dick has the check in his hand. The guy looks at him and says, thanks for taking my butt back, but I'll never shop at Snow Country again because of the way I was treated. Dick takes the check, rips it up right in front of him and says, there's the door, see you later. So that's Dick Osur when it comes to customer service. And it made a difference, but again, you can only push them so far. People were talking about Aspen a little bit and boards in Aspen. He was on two of the biggest boards in Aspen, both the Music Festival and the Art Museum. Not many people get to be on those boards. And I looked at him one day and said, how do you get on those boards? He says, you get on those boards two ways. Number one, you give them a lot of money. Right? And that's where most people came from. I don't have that kind of money. Well, then how'd you get on the board? I raised my hand and said, I'll do all the work. Just let me on the board. And that's Dick Osur at his best. He didn't have the money to give, but he worked so hard for both the Art Museum, he put him on the map in Aspen, and the Music Festival. And again, it wasn't about the money, it was about willing to put the work and effort into it. And then lastly, he was always willing to listen. To me, he was a great sounding board. He would always give me the appropriate feedback. Well, I've been working for the city of Aspen for 6 years, running the parking department, which I don't recommend for anybody. But anyway, I called him and said, I'm ready to leave the city of Aspen. I'm going to go work for Kimosabi, which is the largest retailer in Aspen. He asked all the right questions. He did everything. I know he disagreed 100% with me leaving the city and going to work for him. But you know what? He supported me anyway. And that's Dick. He asked the questions, tried to point me in the right direction. I said, I'm going to do it anyway. And he said, you know what? I support you. Deep down, I know he didn't agree with what I did, but he supported me 100%. So those are my quick stories about Dick. I'd just like to end with a quick Jackson Browne quote. You'll see this in a little while, but just so people know. Into a dancer you've grown, from a seed someone else has thrown. Go ahead and throw some seeds of your own. And somewhere between the time you arrive and the time you go may lie the reason why you're alive, but you'll never know.